Hello. This is Moonlit Ink BL. Let the story begin. Chapter 1, The Story He Never Finished. Jay hadn't opened the file in years. It sat buried in an old folder on his laptop, tucked between forgotten resumes and half-finished projects from a life he barely remembered belonging to him. He didn't even know why he'd searched for it tonight. Maybe it was the rain tapping against his apartment windows, or the way silence felt heavier than usual. Maybe it was because loneliness had a habit of digging up ghosts. The file name blinked back at him. Untitled_BL_draft_03.docs. Jay let out a soft, humorless laugh. Still bad at naming things, he murmured to himself. He clicked it open. The words appeared instantly, like they'd been waiting. He'd written it during college, back when emotions were louder, sharper, harder to ignore. Back when heartbreak felt like something that could hollow you out if you weren't careful. Or maybe even if you were. Mark. The name surfaced before Jay could stop it. Mark had been kind. That was the worst part. Kind enough to listen, kind enough to smile apologetically, kind enough to say, "I'm really sorry, Jay. I don't feel the same way." No cruelty. No drama. Just a quiet rejection that left Jay standing there, heart exposed, unsure what to do with it. He remembered walking back to his dorm room that night, hands shaking, chest tight, mind spinning with everything he hadn't said. Everything he couldn't say anymore. So he wrote instead. Jay scrolled. The opening lines were clumsy, too emotional, too raw, but he didn't stop reading. That was how Liam was born. Not as revenge. Not as fantasy fulfillment. But as survival. Liam was tall. Confident. Brilliant without being arrogant. He had burgundy red hair, a color Jay had once scribbled in the margins because normal brown just didn't feel right. His eyes were deep blue, the kind that saw everything and stayed anyway. And most importantly, Liam loved Jay. Not the idea of him. Not a version that tried harder or smiled more. Just Jay. Jay swallowed as he read the old lines. Liam was attentive in ways Mark never had to be. He noticed when Jay was tired. He waited when Jay needed space. He reached for Jay's hand like it was the most natural thing in the world. He was a little too perfect, Jay whispered. But at the time, perfection had felt like oxygen. The story unfolded like a memory that didn't quite belong to him anymore. Scenes of late-night conversations. Shared coffee. Quiet touches that lingered. Love that didn't hesitate or doubt or pull away. Jay had written Liam to be a lovesick puppy, honestly. He'd known it even back then. Liam existed to choose Jay over and over again, because Jay desperately needed someone who would. The story stopped abruptly around chapter 6. Jay stared at the empty space below the last paragraph. No ending. No goodbye. No resolution. He remembered why he'd stopped writing. Life had moved on. Graduation came. Jobs followed. Reality demanded attention. And somewhere along the way, Jay had convinced himself that the story was childish, an indulgence he'd outgrown. Or maybe he'd stopped because finishing it would mean admitting how badly he'd wanted it to be real. Jay closed the file and leaned back in his chair, rubbing his face with both hands. That was a lifetime ago, he said quietly. Outside, the rain picked up, heavier now. The city hummed faintly beyond the walls of his apartment, cars passing, people going somewhere, lives continuing whether he felt ready or not. Jay stood, stretching, and headed for the kitchen. He poured himself a glass of water, trying to shake the strange ache curling in his chest. That was when the doorbell rang. Jay froze. It was late. Too late for deliveries. Too late for casual visitors. His first thought was that someone had the wrong apartment. The doorbell rang again. Jay frowned, setting the glass down. He walked toward the door, irritation mixing with unease. As he reached for the handle, a strange sensation prickled along his spine, an irrational, inexplicable feeling that something was about to change. He opened the door. And the world tilted. A man stood there, soaked from the rain, shoulders trembling. He was tall, taller than Jay remembered writing, somehow. His hair clung damply to his forehead, unmistakably burgundy red, darkened by water. His eyes, God, his eyes, were a deep, familiar blue, glassy with unshed tears. For a heartbeat, neither of them spoke. Then the man looked at Jay like he'd finally found home. "Jay," he said, voice breaking. Why did you leave me?" Jay's breath caught. I think you've got the wrong apartment," Jay said, forcing the words out. "I don't." The man shook his head violently, tears spilling over. No, this is you. I know it's you. I've been looking for you for so long." Jay's heart pounded painfully against his ribs. "I don't know you," Jay said again, more firmly this time. "I'm sorry, but..." The man's face crumpled. "You said you loved me," he whispered. "You said we'd stay together." Jay felt dizzy. "Who are you?" he asked. The man drew in a shaky breath, as if bracing himself against rejection all over again. "My name is Liam," he said. "I'm your boyfriend." Thunder rolled in the distance as the rain poured harder around them. Jay stared at him, mind screaming that this was impossible. And yet, something deep in his chest twisted painfully, as if a forgotten story had just knocked on his door and refused to stay fiction. Chapter 2, The Boy at the Door Who Knows His Name. The rain soaked through everything. It clung to the stranger's clothes, darkened the edges of his sleeves, dripped steadily from strands of burgundy hair plastered to his cheeks. He stood there like he'd run through the storm without caring where it led, only that it led to Jay. Jay couldn't move. "My name is Liam," the man repeated softly. "I'm your boyfriend." The words didn't land all at once. They scattered in Jay's head, bumping into panic and disbelief and a creeping sense of familiarity that made his stomach twist. "That's not funny," Jay said at last, his voice too sharp, too fast. "If this is a joke, it's not." Liam flinched. Jay saw it immediately. The way Liam's shoulders hunched, like he'd been struck. The way his hands clenched into fists at his sides, knuckles whitening as if he were holding himself together by force alone. "I wouldn't joke about this," Liam said hoarsely. "Not about you." Jay swallowed. "You've made a mistake," Jay insisted, even as his heart beat wildly. "I don't know you. I've never met you." Liam's breath hitched. The silence stretched, thick and fragile. Then Liam shook his head slowly, like he was trying to wake up from a nightmare. "You used to say that when you were scared," Liam whispered. "That you didn't know what to do with feelings that came all at once." Jay's blood ran cold. "I never told anyone that," Jay said. Liam took a hesitant step forward, stopping just short of the threshold, as if he didn't dare cross without permission. "You don't like thunderstorms," Liam continued quietly. "You pretend you don't mind the noise, but you flinch when it gets too loud. You drink your coffee too hot and regret it every time. And when you're upset, you rub the back of your neck like this." Liam mimicked the motion. Jay's hand flew to his neck instinctively. The realization hit him like vertigo. "Stop," Jay said. "Please. Just, stop." Liam froze. Tears spilled freely now, tracing clear paths down his cheeks, mixing with rainwater. He looked devastated, not angry, not demanding, just deeply, profoundly hurt. "I waited," Liam said. "I waited because you said you needed time. You always needed time. But then the days stopped moving. Everything stayed the same. And you were gone." Jay's mind reeled. "Who told you these things?" Jay demanded. "Did you read something? Did someone send you?" "No," Liam said quickly, shaking his head. "I lived them." That was when Jay noticed something that made his chest tighten. Liam wasn't acting like someone pretending. He wasn't smug or confident. He wasn't trying to convince Jay of anything. He looked like someone who'd loved deeply and lost something without understanding why. Jay exhaled shakily. You can't just show up and say things like that, Jay said, more softly now. You can't tell me you're my boyfriend and expect me to believe you. Liam's lips trembled. I didn't expect anything, he said. I just thought. I thought you'd recognize me. The words hurt more than Jay expected them to. Rain continued to fall between them, filling the silence with a soft, relentless sound. Jay hesitated, then sighed. You're soaked, Jay said. You're going to catch a cold. Liam blinked, startled by the sudden change in tone. Can I come in? He asked, voice small. Jay stared at him for a long moment. Every instinct screamed that this was wrong. That he should shut the door, call someone, walk away. But another part of him, the part that had opened that old file tonight, the part that still remembered the shape of Liam's smile on a blank page, couldn't do it. Just for a bit, Jay said finally. We'll talk. Then you leave. Liam nodded immediately, relief washing over his face like sunlight breaking through clouds. Thank you, he whispered. Jay stepped aside. The moment Liam crossed the threshold, Jay felt it. A strange, electric shift in the air, like something settling into place. Liam stood awkwardly in the entryway, water dripping onto the floor, eyes roaming the apartment with quiet wonder. It's smaller than I imagined, Liam said softly. But it feels right. Jay closed the door behind them, heart racing. You imagined this place? Jay asked carefully. Liam nodded. You used to talk about wanting somewhere quiet. Somewhere with windows that let in a lot of light. You said you wanted a place where you could finally breathe. Jay's throat tightened. I said that, Jay murmured. He hadn't even remembered until now. Jay handed Liam a towel, watching closely as Liam accepted it, fingers brushing Jay's for just a second. The contact sent a strange warmth up Jay's arm. Liam dried his hair absent-mindedly, gaze drifting to the bookshelf near the couch. Your books changed, Liam said. You used to like more poetry. Jay felt lightheaded. That was years ago, Jay said. I know, Liam replied. I'm a year older than you now. I kept track. Jay laughed weakly. That doesn't make this sound less insane. Liam smiled sadly. I know. They sat on opposite ends of the couch, an ocean of space between them. Liam perched on the edge, hands folded neatly in his lap, like he didn't trust himself to take up more room. Jay broke the silence. If, hypothetically, Jay said slowly, you were, who you say you are, how did you find me? Liam looked down at his hands. There was light, he said. And a feeling. Like something unfinished pulling at me. I followed it. When I opened my eyes, everything was different. Louder. Faster. I didn't belong. He looked up, eyes shining. But you were here. I knew that much. So I looked. Jay's chest ached. You looked for months? Jay asked. Liam nodded. I didn't know what else to do. Something inside Jay cracked. Liam, Jay said carefully. If you're real, if this is real, you need to understand something. Liam leaned forward, hanging on to every word. I'm not the person you think I am, Jay said. And I'm not. I'm not your boyfriend. Liam's face crumpled again. But you were, he whispered. You wrote me to love you. And I did. I still do. The room went unbearably quiet. Jay stared at him, pulse roaring in his ears. Say that again, Jay said. Liam met his gaze, unwavering despite the tears. You wrote me, he said. On your laptop. Late at night. When you couldn't sleep. You named me Liam because you liked how it sounded in your head. You never finished my story. Jay's breath caught painfully in his chest. That was the moment disbelief gave way to something far more terrifying. Recognition. Jay closed his eyes, pressing his fingers to his temples. "Oh my God," he whispered. Liam watched him, hope and fear tangled together. "Jay?" he asked softly. Jay opened his eyes. And for the first time, he looked at Liam not as a stranger, but as a story that had somehow learned how to breathe. Chapter 3, Fiction Shouldn't Cry Like This. Jay didn't remember sitting closer. One moment, there was space between them, an invisible line drawn by caution and fear. The next, he was leaning forward, elbows on his knees, staring at the floor like it might explain how a character he once invented was now breathing in his living room. "You can't be real," Jay said, voice barely above a whisper. "You just can't." Liam didn't argue. He sat there quietly, hands folded together so tightly his fingers trembled. The towel Jay had given him lay forgotten beside him, damp and crumpled. He looked smaller somehow, despite his height, as if existing here took effort. "I know," Liam said softly. "I thought that too." Jay let out a shaky breath that almost sounded like a laugh. "This is insane," Jay murmured. "I must be exhausted. Or losing my mind. Or both." He glanced up at Liam, expecting irritation or frustration. Instead, Liam looked sad. Not offended. Not defensive. Just deeply, patiently sad. "You always say that when you're scared," Liam said gently. "That if you name all the reasons something can't happen, it'll stop hurting." Jay's chest tightened painfully. "I never wrote that," Jay said automatically. Liam shook his head. "You didn't write it. You thought it." Silence settled between them, heavy and electric. Jay stood abruptly, pacing the length of the room. He dragged a hand through his hair, heart racing. "Okay," Jay said. "Okay. Let's say, just for a moment, that I believe you." Liam looked up, hope flickering so fast it almost hurt to see. Jay held up a finger. "Just for a moment." Liam nodded quickly. "I'll take it." Jay stopped pacing and turned to face him. "Tell me something," Jay said. "Something no one could know. Not from the story. Not from the drafts. Something I never wrote down." Liam swallowed. "You hesitate before saving a file," he said. "You hover over the button like you're afraid that once it's real, it can't be changed anymore." Jay's breath caught. "You never delete old work," Liam continued. "Even the bad ones. You say they're proof you existed in that moment." Jay felt dizzy. Liam's voice grew softer. "And when you wrote me, you stopped halfway through a sentence. You leaned back in your chair and said, 'If I keep going, I might actually believe this could happen.'" Jay staggered back, sinking onto the arm of the couch. "I said that out loud," Jay whispered. Liam nodded. "You didn't know I could hear you." Jay pressed a hand to his mouth. No one knew that moment. No one had been there. He'd been alone in his dorm room, laptop glowing in the dark, heart aching in a way he'd never admitted to anyone. Jay looked at Liam again. Fiction wasn't supposed to remember things like that. "Why do you look like you're about to disappear?" Jay asked suddenly. Liam blinked, startled. What? "You keep holding yourself like you're afraid," Jay said. "Like you don't trust that you'll still be here if you relax." Liam's hands tightened. "Because I don't," he admitted quietly. Jay's heart stuttered. "What do you mean?" Liam hesitated, then slowly held up his hand. "For a moment earlier," he said, "when you told me to stop, my fingers felt strange." He turned his palm slightly. They went cold. Like they weren't really there. Jay stared. "Why didn't you tell me?" Liam smiled faintly. "I didn't want to give you another reason to send me away." Something twisted sharply in Jay's chest. "Come here," Jay said without thinking. Liam froze. "Jay." Jay realized what he'd said and swallowed. Just, sit closer. I want to see. After a moment, Liam shifted. He moved carefully, as if afraid the couch might reject him, until he sat close enough that Jay could feel the warmth radiating from him. Jay reached out, hesitating only a second before gently taking Liam's hand. It was warm. Solid. Real. Liam inhaled sharply, eyes widening at the contact. You used to hold my hand when you were overwhelmed, Liam said, voice trembling. You said it reminded you that something was real. Jay's throat burned. I didn't know you could feel that, Jay whispered. I felt everything, Liam replied. Jay studied Liam's face, the fine tremor in his lashes, the way his lips pressed together like he was bracing for rejection that might never come. This wasn't an illusion. Illusions didn't ache like this. Why me? Jay asked quietly. Why come here? Why now? Liam's eyes softened. Because you stopped writing, he said. And everything stopped with you. Jay flinched. I didn't mean to, Jay said. Life just got in the way. I know, Liam said quickly. I don't blame you. I just didn't know what I was without your words. Jay squeezed Liam's hand gently. You're more than words, Jay said, surprising himself with how sure he sounded. Liam looked at him like that sentence alone was enough to keep him alive. I don't want to go back, Liam whispered. I don't even know if I can. All I know is that I wanted to find you. Even if you didn't want me anymore. Jay's chest tightened unbearably. I don't know what to do, Jay admitted. But I'm not sending you away. Not tonight. Liam let out a shaky breath, relief flooding his face. Thank you, he whispered. They sat there, hands still intertwined, the world strangely quiet around them. Jay realized something then, something that frightened him more than disbelief ever had. He wanted this. And wanting something this impossible had consequences. Outside, the rain finally began to ease. Inside, Jay and Liam sat together, suspended between fiction and reality. And neither of them knew how much longer the story would let them stay. Chapter 4, Living the Life He Once Imagined. Morning came quietly. Jay woke to sunlight spilling through the curtains, warm and unhurried, painting soft shapes across the walls of his apartment. For a moment, he lay still, suspended in that fragile space between sleep and awareness, until memory rushed back all at once. The rain. The door. Liam. Jay sat up too fast, heart pounding. Then he saw him. Liam was asleep on the couch, blanket half slipped to the floor, one arm tucked beneath his head. His burgundy hair caught the light like something unreal, deep red softened to copper by the sun. His face, finally free of fear, looked younger, peaceful in a way Jay hadn't seen yet. He was still here. Jay exhaled a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. He moved quietly, padding into the kitchen to make coffee. The familiar routine steadied him, measuring grounds, waiting for the kettle to heat, listening to the soft clink of ceramic. Normal things. Real things. When he turned back, Liam was sitting up, blinking sleep from his eyes. Good morning, Liam said softly, like he was afraid to break the moment. Jay hesitated. Then, just as softly, morning. They stared at each other for a second too long. Liam smiled first, small, tentative, hopeful. You still say, morning even when it's already bright out, Liam said. You never liked, good morning. Said it felt like too much pressure. Jay huffed a quiet laugh. I did, didn't I? Liam nodded. You're more honest when you're half awake. Jay handed him a mug of coffee, watching closely as Liam took it, fingers wrapping around the warmth like it was something precious. This tastes the same, Liam murmured. A little too bitter. Jay smiled despite himself. I never learned how to fix that. I liked it, Liam said quickly. You said it reminded you that things didn't have to be perfect to be yours. Jay looked away, heart twisting. They spent the day cautiously. Not awkward, just careful, like two people learning the weight of something fragile. Jay showed Liam the apartment properly this time, the tiny bathroom with the flickering light, the desk cluttered with unfinished ideas, the bookshelf Liam lingered at like it held pieces of a life he remembered but hadn't lived. These weren't here before, Liam said, touching the spines gently. I grew out of poetry, Jay said. Or thought I did. Liam smiled. You didn't. You just stopped believing it could help. They went outside in the afternoon. The city buzzed around them, loud and alive. Liam walked close to Jay, eyes wide with quiet wonder, absorbing everything, the traffic lights, the chatter of strangers, the way the air felt heavier here. Does it always move this fast? Liam asked. Jay shrugged. You get used to it. Liam shook his head. I don't want to. Jay glanced at him. You don't have to. That earned him a look so full of gratitude it nearly undid him. They ate at a small cafe near Jay's apartment. Liam struggled with the touchscreen menu, frowned at the prices, apologized too often. Jay found himself smiling more than he had in months. This was the life he'd once written in fragments. Back home, dusk settled in soft and golden. Liam helped cook dinner, hovering too close, asking too many questions, bumping into Jay and apologizing every time. At one point, Jay laughed out loud, surprised by the sound of it. Liam froze. Did I do something wrong? No, Jay said quickly. You just make me laugh. Liam's smile was slow and bright, like he was afraid it might disappear if he moved too fast. After dinner, they sat on the couch, closer now without realizing it. Liam leaned against Jay's shoulder, light as a question. Jay didn't pull away. They watched the city lights flicker on through the window, neither speaking. This is the part one liked most, Liam said quietly. The quiet moments. Jay swallowed. You remember them? I remember everything you imagined, Liam said. And some things you didn't. Jay rested his head against Liam's. For a while, it felt perfect. Then Jay noticed it. Liam's reflection in the darkened window lagged, just slightly. Like a skipped frame. Like something struggling to keep up. Jay stiffened. Liam, he said carefully. Yes. Jay turned his head. Liam was solid. Warm. Real. But the reflection. Nothing, Jay said quickly. I thought I saw something. Liam studied him, concern flickering across his face. You're worried. Jay hesitated. Then sighed. I'm afraid this won't last. Liam's fingers curled into the fabric of Jay's sleeve. I know, Liam whispered. I feel it too. Jay closed his eyes. He didn't say what they were both thinking. Didn't say that this happiness felt borrowed. Didn't say that stories had rules, and they were already breaking them. Instead, he leaned in. Liam tilted his head up instinctively, eyes searching Jay's face for permission. Jay pressed a gentle kiss to Liam's forehead. Just that. Liam exhaled, tension melting from his body as he leaned fully into Jay's embrace. Outside, night settled in. Inside, Jay held the life he once imagined, and wondered how much time the world would allow him to keep it. Chapter 5, The World Starts to Glitch. It didn't happen all at once. That was the cruelest part. If Liam had vanished in a flash, if the world had torn open with some dramatic warning, Jay might have known how to react. Might have screamed, or fought, or accepted it with numb resignation. Instead, it came in fragments. Small things. Easy to ignore. The first time was in the kitchen. Jay was rinsing dishes while Liam dried them, humming softly, an unfamiliar tune that felt like it belonged to another place. Jay glanced over just in time to see the towel slip straight through Liam's fingers and fall to the floor. They both froze. Did you drop that? Jay asked, forcing casualness into his voice. Liam stared at his hands. I thought I was holding it, he said slowly. Jay laughed a little too loudly. Guess gravity's just rude today. Liam smiled, but it didn't quite reach his eyes. The second time was later that night. They were sitting on the couch, shoulders pressed together, a quiet show playing in the background that neither of them was really watching. Liam leaned his head against Jay's shoulder, breathing slow and even. Jay shifted, and felt nothing. For half a second, Liam's weight wasn't there. Jay stiffened, heart lurching violently, then. Liam was solid again. Jay didn't move. Didn't breathe. You okay? Liam asked softly. Jay swallowed. Yeah. Just spaced out. Liam hesitated, then reached for Jay's hand, threading their fingers together. His grip was firm, grounding. Jay squeezed back a little too tightly. That night, Jay lay awake long after Liam had fallen asleep on the couch again, like he didn't quite trust himself to take up Jay's bed yet. Jay stared at the ceiling, counting breaths, listening to the steady rhythm of Liam's presence. He was afraid to sleep. Afraid that when he woke up, the apartment would be quiet again. The next morning, Liam complained about the cold. Jay frowned. It's not that cold. Liam rubbed his arms. It feels different. Like the warmth doesn't sink in all the way. Jay wrapped his hoodie around Liam without thinking. Liam blinked in surprise, then smiled, soft, grateful. You used to do that, he said. Jay's chest tightened. Used to. Liam's smile faded. In the story. Jay didn't answer. The glitches grew bolder after that. A reflection that didn't blink when Liam did. Footsteps that made no sound. A moment in the grocery store when the automatic doors didn't open for Liam, until Jay stepped forward first. Jay started watching constantly. Counting. Memorizing. As if vigilance alone could keep Liam tethered to the world. One evening, while washing their hands side by side, Jay noticed it clearly for the first time. Liam's fingers were translucent. Not fully gone, just thinner. Like mist stretched into the shape of skin. Jay's breath caught painfully. Liam, Jay whispered. Liam looked down. The color drained from his face. Oh, he said. Jay grabbed his wrist instinctively. It felt solid, but faintly wrong, like holding onto something slipping through cracks. I didn't want you to see it like this, Liam said quietly. Jay's voice shook. How long? Liam hesitated. A few days. A few days. Jay snapped, panic flaring. You didn't think to tell me? Liam flinched, then looked away. I didn't want to make it real, he said. I thought if I ignored it, it would stop. Jay's anger collapsed instantly, replaced by fear so sharp it hurt to breathe. Why are you fading? Jay asked, voice barely holding together. Liam swallowed. I think I'm running out of story. Jay's heart dropped into his stomach. What does that mean? In my world, Liam said softly, time didn't move unless you wrote it. When you stopped, everything froze. I stayed the same. Waiting. He met Jay's eyes, terrified now. But here, time keeps going. And I don't know how to keep up. Jay pulled Liam into his arms, holding him tightly, like pressure alone could anchor him to reality. I won't let you disappear, Jay whispered fiercely. Liam clutched Jay's shirt like a lifeline. I'm scared, he admitted. What if I just stop? What if I go back to being unfinished? Jay's throat burned. He pressed a kiss to Liam's hair, soft, lingering, grounding. You're not unfinished, Jay said. Not to me. Liam's breathing steadied slowly. That night, they didn't sleep apart. Liam curled against Jay in bed, arms wrapped around him, as if memorizing the shape of his body. Jay stayed awake, listening to Liam's heartbeat, terrified of the moment it might falter. In the quiet dark, Liam whispered, if I disappear. Jay tightened his hold. Don't. Will you remember me? Liam asked. Jay pressed his forehead to Liam's. I could never forget you, he said. Liam smiled faintly. That's enough. Outside, the city lights flickered. Inside, Jay held on to a love that was unraveling at the edges, and realized, with terrifying clarity, that love written into existence could be erased just as easily. And this time, Jay didn't know if words alone would be enough to save him. Chapter 6, Vanishing Point. It happened on an ordinary day. That was what destroyed Jay the most. There was no warning. No dramatic surge of light or sound. No sign from the universe that it was about to take something precious away from him. They were standing in the kitchen. Jay was complaining about work, some trivial frustration he wouldn't remember a week from now. Liam leaned against the counter, listening the way he always did, eyes warm and focused like Jay's words mattered simply because they came from him. You're frowning again, Liam said softly. That crease right there. He reached out, fingertips brushing Jay's forehead. Jay smiled despite himself. You're one to talk. You look like you're about to apologize for existing. Liam laughed, quiet, breathy. I'm trying not to, he said. Jay turned toward the stove, still smiling. I'll be fine, Jay continued. I always. The sentence never finished. Behind him, something changed. Jay felt it before he saw it, a sudden, sharp wrongness in the air, like the moment before a fall. He turned around. Liam. Liam was staring at his own hands. They were disappearing. Not fading gently. Not dissolving like mist. They were breaking apart, pixels of light unraveling from his fingers, drifting upward like ash caught in a draft. Oh, Liam whispered. Jay rushed forward, heart slamming violently against his ribs. No, Jay said. No, no, no. He grabbed Liam's wrists. For a split second, Liam was solid. Then Jay's hands passed through him. It felt like plunging his arms into freezing water, numb, hollow, wrong. Jay gasped. I'm sorry, Liam said quickly, panic finally flooding his voice. Jay, I think this is it. No, Jay said, voice cracking. We'll fix it. We'll figure something out. Just stay. Liam smiled at him. It was soft. Sad. Full of so much love it felt unbearable. You're doing that thing, Liam said. Trying to be brave for both of us. Jay shook his head violently. I'm not brave. I'm terrified. Liam stepped closer, or tried to. Half of his body flickered. Jay could see straight through his chest now. The counter behind him shimmered in and out of view. I don't want to leave you, Liam whispered. I finally found you. Jay's hands trembled uselessly in the empty space where Liam should have been. Please, Jay begged. Please don't go. Liam lifted his fading hand, pressing it against Jay's cheek. Jay felt it, barely. Like warmth remembered rather than warmth real. You gave me everything, Liam said. Even when you didn't think it mattered. Tears streamed down Jay's face unchecked. I didn't finish your story, Jay choked out. I left you alone. Liam shook his head slowly. You gave me a life. That was enough. His form began to dissolve faster now, edges blurring, colors washing out. Jay, Liam said urgently. Listen to me. Jay clung to his voice like it was the only thing keeping him upright. If I don't make it back, Liam swallowed, fear finally breaking through. If I disappear, don't think it means I wasn't real. Jay sobbed openly now. You're real. You're real to me. Liam smiled through tears. That's all I ever wanted. The light around him brightened suddenly, too bright. Liam! Jay screamed. Liam leaned forward, pressing what remained of his forehead against Jay's. I love you, Liam said. And then he was gone. No sound. No flash. Just absence. Jay stumbled forward, hands grasping at empty air, collapsing to his knees on the kitchen floor. "No," he whispered. "No, no, no." The apartment felt impossibly quiet. Too still. Jay screamed then, raw and broken, the sound tearing from his chest as reality finally crashed down on him. He stayed there for a long time. He didn't know how long. Minutes. Hours. A lifetime. Eventually, Jay dragged himself to his feet, body shaking, eyes burning. The apartment felt wrong now, too big, too empty, like it had already forgotten Liam had ever been there. Jay staggered toward his desk. The laptop sat exactly where he'd left it. Untouched. Waiting. Jay stared at it, chest heaving. "This is my fault," he whispered. "I wrote you into existence, and I let you fade." His hands hovered over the keyboard, trembling violently. "What if," Jay breathed, "words are the only thing holding you together?" A spark of desperate hope flared painfully in his chest. Jay opened the old file. The unfinished chapter blinked back at him, silent and accusing. "I won't abandon you again," Jay said aloud, tears dripping onto the keys. And then he began to type. He wrote through the night. Through shaking hands and blurred vision. He wrote Liam waking up somewhere warm. He wrote him breathing. He wrote him staying. He didn't stop to think. Didn't stop to question. He wrote like someone clawing a person back from the edge of oblivion. When dawn finally crept through the windows, Jay was still typing. Exhausted. Desperate. Hope burning painfully bright. And somewhere between the words, Jay prayed. Chapter 7, Rewriting Reality. Jay didn't notice the time passing. Night dissolved into something thinner, softer. The city outside his window shifted from darkness to blue-gray, then to the pale gold of early morning, but Jay stayed hunched over his laptop, fingers moving as if guided by instinct rather than thought. He wrote. Not carefully. Not beautifully. He wrote like someone trying to breathe underwater. He didn't rewrite the old chapters. He didn't erase the pain or pretend the loss hadn't happened. Instead, he changed the rules, the ones he hadn't known he'd written in the first place. He wrote Liam waking up somewhere warm, not frozen in an unfinished moment. He wrote time moving forward even when no one was watching. He wrote Liam belonging, not to a story, not to pages, but to the world Jay lived in. Jay paused only when his hands cramped, when tears blurred the screen too badly to see. I won't trap you in words again, Jay whispered to the empty apartment. I won't decide your ending for you. He typed slower then. More deliberately. He gave Liam a past that existed outside Jay's imagination, documents, memories, fingerprints in the world. He gave him the ability to choose, to change, to stay even if Jay stopped writing. Most importantly, Jay didn't write an ending. He left the final paragraph open, unfinished on purpose. Jay leaned back in his chair, breath shallow, heart hammering. If this works, he murmured, voice breaking, you won't disappear just because I stop. The cursor blinked at the end of the sentence. Waiting. Jay saved the file. The sound, soft, final, echoed in the quiet apartment. For the first time since Liam vanished, Jay let himself stop. He rested his forehead against the desk, exhaustion crashing over him all at once. His body ached. His eyes burned. His chest felt hollow, but beneath it, something fragile and trembling stirred. Hope. I'm sorry, Jay whispered. For writing you to love me before I learned how to love myself. The apartment remained silent. Jay straightened slowly, every nerve alight, afraid to move too quickly, as if motion itself might break whatever fragile miracle he'd just attempted. And then. The doorbell rang. Jay froze. His heart slammed so hard it hurt. The sound wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. Just a single, ordinary chime. Jay stood so fast his chair scraped loudly against the floor. No, he whispered. I'm dreaming. I have to be. The doorbell rang again. Jay crossed the apartment in a daze, legs unsteady, breath shallow. His hand hovered over the door handle, trembling. What if it's not him? Jay thought wildly. What if I failed? He closed his eyes. Then he opened the door. Liam stood there. Not glowing. Not flickering. Not fading. Just, there. His burgundy hair was dry this time, neatly tucked behind his ears. His blue eyes were bright, glassy with tears he hadn't let fall yet. He looked solid in a way that made Jay's knees nearly give out. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then Liam smiled. It was the same smile, but steadier now. Grounded. I think, Liam said softly, voice thick with emotion, you changed something. Jay let out a broken sound that might have been a laugh or a sob and pulled Liam into his arms. Liam gasped, then laughed through tears as he wrapped himself around Jay just as tightly, real, warm, undeniably present. You're here, Jay whispered over and over. You're here. I am, Liam said, pressing his face into Jay's shoulder. I can feel it. The world isn't slipping anymore. Jay pulled back just enough to look at him, hands cupping Liam's face like he was afraid to let go. Does it hurt? Jay asked. Do you feel different? Liam nodded slowly. Different, he said. But not wrong. He took Jay's hand and pressed it over his chest. Time moves here, Liam said. And I move with it. Jay laughed then, soft, incredulous, full of relief that left him weak. I didn't write an ending, Jay confessed. I was afraid if I did, I'd trap you again. Liam's eyes softened. You finally trusted me to choose, he said. Jay swallowed. Do you want to stay? Liam didn't hesitate. I chose you long before I knew I had a choice, he said. Jay leaned in, forehead touching Liam's, breathing him in, soap and morning air and something uniquely real. I love you, Jay said, voice steady now. Not because I wrote you to. Because you're you. Liam smiled, tears finally spilling. I love you, he replied. Not because you made me. But because you let me stay. They stood there for a long time, holding each other in the doorway as sunlight spilled in around them, two worlds no longer separate, but gently, irrevocably merged. Jay closed the door behind them. And for the first time, the story didn't need to continue on the page. Because it was happening, right here. Chapter 8, A Story That Keeps Going. The first thing Jay noticed was how ordinary everything felt. Not dull. Not empty. Just, real. Morning came again, as it always did. Sunlight filtered through the curtains, dust motes drifting lazily in the air. The city hummed beyond the windows, alive and unconcerned with miracles. Jay woke slowly, aware of warmth pressed against his side. He froze. Then he breathed. Liam was there, curled close, arm draped loosely across Jay's waist, face tucked into the crook of his neck like he belonged there. His breathing was deep and steady, unhurried in a way that spoke of comfort rather than fear. Jay turned carefully, studying him. Liam looked peaceful. Not like someone clinging to existence, not like someone afraid of fading. Just, a man asleep beside the person he loved. Jay reached out, brushing his thumb gently over Liam's knuckles. Solid. Still solid. Jay closed his eyes, emotion swelling quietly in his chest. When Liam stirred, it was slow and unguarded. Morning, he murmured sleepily. Jay smiled. You say it like you mean it now. Liam blinked, then smiled back, eyes crinkling at the corners. I think I do. They lay there for a while, talking about nothing important. What to make for breakfast. Whether Liam preferred his coffee sweeter now. Whether they should get groceries later. Every word felt like proof. Later, they walked through the city together. Liam moved with more confidence now, no longer flinching when doors opened, no longer watching his hands like they might disappear. He laughed more easily, touched things just because he could. At a crosswalk, he laced his fingers with Jay's. Jay squeezed back without thinking. No one stared. No one questioned. The world accepted them as easily as it accepted anyone else. That afternoon, Jay sat at his desk again. The laptop was open, but this time, the file felt different. Liam leaned against the doorframe, watching. "You're not going to finish it," Liam said gently. Jay shook his head. "No." He closed the document and saved it one last time. "This story doesn't need an ending," Jay said. "Not on a page." Liam crossed the room and leaned down, pressing a soft kiss to Jay's temple. "Then we'll write the rest together," he said. Jay laughed quietly. "Deal." They cooked dinner side by side, bumping elbows, stealing glances. When Liam wrapped his arms around Jay from behind, Jay leaned into him without hesitation. No fear. Just warmth. Later, curled up on the couch, Jay rested his head against Liam's shoulder, listening to the steady rhythm of his breathing. "Do you ever miss it?" Jay asked suddenly. "The other world?" Liam thought for a moment. "It felt like waiting," he said. "This feels like living." Jay smiled. Outside, night fell gently. Inside, two lives continued, unwritten, unbounded, real. Jay realized something then, something that settled deep in his bones. He hadn't created Liam to escape loneliness. He'd created him because love had always been possible, he just hadn't believed he deserved it yet. Liam shifted, pressing a kiss into Jay's hair. "You're thinking too loudly," Liam teased. Jay chuckled. "Some habits don't fade." "Good," Liam said. "Neither do some stories." Jay looked at him, this man who had stepped out of fiction and chosen reality, chosen him. Jay leaned in and kissed him. Slow. Soft. Certain. Not an ending. Just a continuation. And somewhere, on an old hard drive, an unfinished story remained, its last line blinking patiently, forever waiting. Not because it needed to be finished. But because some love stories are meant to be lived instead of written. End. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the story, please like and subscribe to help the channel grow.